and the music business are applicable to any business, from manufacturing to medicine. It just takes the ability to see the creativity in it and apply it to whatever it is that you're doing. So for instance, I tell people a lot that, I worked with famous actors like Woody Harrelson, and, I worked with Rod Stewart and all these famous musicians. And these people have nothing that you or I, Alex, don't have. Nothing. All they have is a predictable routine of creativity. Now, you might say to me, Nir, Rod Stewart or whatever, Lady Gaga has a great voice. But then I'll say, okay, for every person that you think has a great voice, I mean, turn on the radio, dude. You can hear like a lot of people that don't have, a great voice, and yet they're selling albums and downloads and stuff like that. So they have a predictable routine of creativity that they can keep drawing upon. Creativity, the tool. It's not, not divine inspiration. You don't wait for a lightning bolt to hit and you're like, oh, I'm inspired today. For me, it's far more about perspiration than inspiration. I would say 99.9% perspiration and maybe 0.1%. It's not really about getting inspired. It's about creating it. And so I wrote a book literally from all of this experience, from working with kids in grad school all the way to washing cars when I was 9 years old, a manual that I've learned at every step along my career about how to be more creative no matter what you do. And so the book is really about giving people actionable tools that they can use every day to become more creative.
What was something that you learned about yourself during your college experience that you didn't recognize before?
I think it was an ability to teach people things, because I didn't know that I had that ability and until other people found it in me. And I'm really not sure how they found it in me, to be honest. I would get a call in to the chairman's office. I would sit down and be like, oh man, am I in trouble? I'd be like, no, have you thought about teaching? I was like, how do you even know this? There's, how many kids are in the program? There's what, 200-300, students in a certain program. I think there was 500 in the advertising program. I mean, there was a lot of people. And I think my teachers were like, oh man, this is maybe something that that Nir's really good at. And I think that was kind of cool that they recognized that. But that's something I really discovered, I think, right in grad school. I would say, as I was going through the program, I would recognize that I had an ability to teach, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I was a little reluctant, but I said I'll try it.
As an adjunct professor, what was the most challenging thing that you experienced during that time?
The most challenging thing is probably managing expectations of students. Teaching is a bit like theater. It's like being on a stage. And with all the distractions these days, from phone to machines and all the stuff that people are doing in a classroom, it was really hard to sort of manage the expectations of students. They, I think, a lot of times wanted to gain information from you in a way that was consumable to them. And it was very hard to connect, getting the message out to the receiving end of it and making sure that it connected well. So I had implemented a bunch of policies, and towards the last 2 or 3 semesters I was teaching, I feel like I had it down. I wasn't popular with the administration though, because I would make people shut their machines off. And no, you can't use your machines. I'd have people leave their phones in the front of the room on silent. That wasn't popular. I'd lock the door after the class started. I'd give people like a 2, 3, 4-minute grace period, and then I'd lock the door. And that wasn't popular. But it worked. It worked really, really well. And the message was able to be consumed much easier. And when students were given or really forced to focus, I saw that they did extraordinarily well, right? Scores went up, grades went up, and some of them, I think in one of my classes, I started just playing, records for them. In one of my classes, I played the first side of Dark Side of the Moon, side A. And the kids would be like, hey, I'd never sat and listened to anything in my entire life. I've always had it sort of in the background, but I've never really focused. And I was able to develop a sense of focus. And I talk about it in the book, man. It's like multitasking is such BS. It just doesn't exist. And I have the research backed for it. It's one of the things that we think we're really good at, Alex, but we're not, right? We can walk and chew gum, but we really need to be able to focus on one thing at a time and then be able to change gears into another thing, so that one thing that we are focused on keeps an entire amount of our mental capacity. And so I was able to do that with the kids, and it was really challenging at first because they would get restless and this is so weird. Why are we doing this? And they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They've never actually sat down and 15 minutes without a device was like trauma, and so it developed a sense of an ability to focus, and I hope that those kids that were in my class did well.